Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast, the show about all things commercial construction. We dig in and talk about trades, design, GCs, all of the ancillary businesses that go around with our great industry, funding and finance, environmental, recruiting, etc. There is literally no end to what this industry touches, which means that we have a pretty broad stroke on this podcast with what and who we talk about on a weekly basis. Guys, real quick, we don't run ads, okay? All we do is produce content. All we do is ask that in exchange for this, you sign our very easy contract, all right? If you're listening to this show, you're well-versed in the contracting world, I would assume. You know how contracts work. We provide you something, you provide us something. In this case, it's not a monetary exchange. We're going to provide you all of this great content, these great interviews, these great guests, etc. All we ask you to do is share the damn show. Help us continue to get the word out there. Help us continue to grow, expand our reach, and all these great things that come around with this quote-unquote social contract that we have just entered into in the last 1 minute and 25 seconds. You are now bound to these terms for eternity. So I hope you hold up your end of the bargain, because my attorney is a pit bull, and I would hate to have to unleash her vengeance upon any of our great listeners. So all you got to do to stay out of that seat is share the damn show. Guys, schedules intervene, like we keep mentioning. You know, it's just the fucking reality of what we do. So we're going to jump right into another solo hot take episode today with just me. Dillon and I will be recording again this coming week, the week of this recording, rather. We have a great guest coming back on the show, or coming onto the show, rather, for the first time. It'll be a great one. It'll be interesting, and just stay tuned. So you'll get the listening pleasure of having both Dillon and I back, along with a guest for next week's show. It'll post next Tuesday, obviously. Guys, today we're going to jump right back into the topic that I went through last week, and kind of digging back into the entrepreneurial operating system by Gino Wickman, specifically the Traction book, which at least in my journey is really the book that kind of started the entire process for me. I worked at a large GC for a little bit of time. One of the first things they did was have me read this book. They were, at least on the surface, they like to say that they were very ingrained in the Traction process, in the EOS system. In hindsight, I think most of it was bullshit. However, what it did for me was show me a way to actually run a business that is meaningful, that creates the culture you want, and that can create the outcomes you're going for without being some faceless asshole corporate entity. So the people component is where we started last week. We got into the right people, right seats theory, the right people, right seats concepts, and how to go about those, and how to go about determining who you have and what to do based on who it is you have in your organization. I want to first off say thank you. We got a ton of really good feedback on that episode. Had a bunch of DMs asking me to put future topics on the show, which we will get to. We are logging all of those. So by all means, guys, if you have ideas, guests or topics or both, please DM me or Dillon, either one of us, and we'll make sure we get it on our spreadsheet, and it'll grace your listening pleasure in an upcoming episode. One of the things that, frankly, I wanted to get into anyways, but someone did reach out to me and ask privately, was how do we go about, quote unquote, rating our people? You know, they said, Matt, you talked a lot about making sure people fit your core values and making sure people fit your culture. Well, how do you actually quantify that? How do you take a objective viewpoint of whether or not your people actually fit with your values and culture? Funny you should ask, because that's actually the next step in this process. If you have read the Traction book, you should be very aware of a incredibly powerful tool that Gino Wickman lays out for free for all of us to use. You can actually download it on his website. Go ahead and look him up. I believe it's still eosworldwide.com. It may have changed by now, but go take a look for it. The tool that I'm referring to is called the People Analyzer. The People Analyzer is really a powerful tool for doing exactly what we talked about last time, for taking your core values and your culture and using those items, using those concepts as an objective means of rating and grading all of your people. Right? We've all been getting ratings and grades since we were in elementary school, so this should be nothing too scary for anyone. It's foolish to think that as a adult, as a employee, or even as a leader, that you're not always being rated and graded, because you are. It just depends. The difference is who's actually doing the rating and grading, and we'll get to that a little bit on this show today. So the People Analyzer is really an easy tool to start using today, immediately. It doesn't take a lot of setup. It doesn't take a whole lot of research or anything like that. What it does take is it requires you to already have some very well-defined core values in place for your company. Dillon and I have talked about creating core values. It's probably been a couple years now, and now that I'm saying that out loud, maybe we kind of zip back in time a little bit and do a show based on just that, on creating and documenting your core values. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know. But for today, we're going to assume you already have these in place. Okay, you already have your core values. You're typically what we recommend, what I've seen in organizations I've been in and around, and what I use now in my own company is the 5 core value rule, where that we have 5 core values. These are the top, most important things in our business, period. I will be the first to admit that I don't always do a great job of continuously beating the core value drum with my people. I do expect a lot. I expect that, after the initial kind of indoctrination, if you will, into our core values, that my people will digest what this means, digest what our values are, figure out how they fit within them, and continuously strive to exemplify our values in everything they do. Now, you and I both know that's absolute horseshit. And if the leader is not continuously pounding that drum and continuously talking about our core values and our culture and our vision, then frankly, your employees will just not remember it. It'll just be another poster on the wall, and that's where it sits. So for all of my team that is actually listening today, I get it. I am the first one to fall on the sword. I don't do it enough. It is something that is going to be changing here in the near future, because as we continue to grow as an organization, our core values stand ever more important, and you will see that in the coming weeks and months out of me. So I kind of digress a little bit. So let's get back to the People Analyzer. The People Analyzer is really just a pretty basic chart, whereby on the left side, the leftmost column, vertically, you list every single one of the people in your organization, the leadership team on down to your newest employee. Across the top, horizontally, you have a column for each one of your stated core values. Again, we recommend 5. We have 5 in our organization, and that works really well for us. It's not too many to digest. It's not too few to be silly. So, kind of behind the curtain, in our case, our core values are simple concepts to understand. In practice and in reality, using them and exemplifying them is not always easy, but they're simple to understand. So our core values are: be humbly confident, be a problem solver, always embody honesty and integrity, be respectful, and our final core value is have a 100 to 0 mindset. That last one is the one that, ever since I instituted it, has always been a sticking point with people, because they may not understand what it is. Very few people understand what it is on day one. I think after some explanation, they get it. We can talk at another time, or feel free to reach out to me privately, and I'll give you the lowdown on what all of this means. But so anyways, People Analyzer, you got your people on the left side going up and down. You've got your core values across the top going left to right. In the boxes in the chart that follows, you then simply do a very easy, very simple, very objective rating for each one of your people based on each one of your core values. The rating scale is about as easy as it gets. You have 3 options. You get a plus. A plus means that that person exemplifies whichever core value it is most of the time, almost always. Nobody's perfect, so we're going to say most of the time that gets a plus. Next option is a plus minus. Pretty simple to understand this. This person in particular, exemplifies that core value sometimes. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Maybe a 50-50 split, although we like to see something more like a 75-25 split in our group. The last option is very easy. It's a minus. The minus means they don't fit your core values. They don't exhibit them most of the time, and they aren't doing it. They aren't showing it. They don't mesh with it. So you go across horizontally for every single person. So in our group with 5 core values, each person gets 5 ratings, and then you take a average of those 5 ratings and you kind of analyze what that looks like. Again, what we want always is to have all pluses, perfection. We want to be perfect and we want to be fast. That's a motto that we do talk about very frequently at Schaefer Construction, perfect and fast. What happens in reality is there is no such thing as perfection. We're all chasing it, but we'll never get there. That's really the culture that we have purported, and that we really beat that drum constantly. Perfect and fast, knowing full well that perfection is unattainable, but it is a goal. It is a standard of ours, is to be striving for perfection. So along with the People Analyzer tool, you and your leadership team, or if it's just one person at this point in time, just an owner, you need to set the bar. You need to figure out in your mind, in your head, for your organization, what is the lowest allowable level of analysis with this People Analyzer. What's the lowest allowable standard that you will permit to stay in your organization? When you have 5 core values, what we have set our bar at Schaefer Construction, that is we seek to see 3 pluses and a maximum of 2 plus minuses. Okay, obviously we no minuses. So 3 pluses and 2 plus minuses means that we're doing okay as a group, or that this individual rather is doing okay. It gives us something to work with, because we would like to see those plus minuses, those mediocre ones, kind of move up in scale to the pluses. But overall, on a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year basis, this person is exemplifying and meeting our core values, which means they're fitting in with our culture, and we can continue working and helping that person as a leadership team. We help that person to develop and hopefully move up to all pluses. Any person that comes in and ranks at or above your bottom line that you set equals the right person. We talked a long time last week about what the right person is, so I won't get back into that now, but go back and listen to last Tuesday's episode if you missed it. So anyone at or above your bottom line is the right person. Our goal is to have 100% right people in our organization. Now, this definition of perfection is non-negotiable. Okay, if we don't have 100% right people in our boat, then the boat is not going to succeed, plain and simple. So if we need to really spend some extra time with an individual to hopefully build them up, we'll do that. If it turns out that we have the wrong person, then we deal with that also. And one of the ways that we will deal with that sort of unfortunate event is a 3-strike rule. Now, Mr. Wickman talks about this. I'm not sure that it's really his rule necessarily. Lots of people use this 3-strike rule, but basically here's what happens. So strike 1 is, and this is when you fall out of line, when you fall below our minimum standard on the People Analyzer. Okay, if you don't meet our bar, that's strike 1. So what we seek to do, and we typically do this during our quarterly or biannual reviews, depending on how often we actually have them, another topic for another show. We will do a people analyzer for each one of our people. We'll sit down, and if strike one has occurred, we're going to discuss the issues with that individual, and we're going to discuss our expectations with that individual. Now, I've had this conversation quite a few times in my career here with a few different people, and basically, you tell them, listen, this isn't what we want to see. You're not cutting the mustard. You're not meeting the standard. Here's where and here's why. Our expectation is that you need to improve. You need to boost, this aspect. You need to better exemplify this, or this core value, and that's how we get you back on track. So strike one, you discuss, you set expectations, and you give this individual, the book will tell you 30 days. Realistically, in our firm anyways, we've never been that structured, that disciplined, because we just get so fucking busy that we don't have time necessarily. And yes, that's a cop-out answer, but that's just the reality. We've allowed more frequent reviews to slide into, like I mentioned, biannual reviews, because we just get so busy that it's hard, it's difficult to set aside time for this sort of thing at the leadership level, even though it's critically important. So by the book, you give this person 30 days. Okay, 30 days. If there has been no improvement in their analysis on the people analyzer, they haven't made any moves to better themselves or to better exemplify and fit your core values and culture, that's strike two. Again, bring the person back in. Go through the same thing for strike one. Discuss the issues, discuss the expectations. Now, obviously, this conversation gets a little more in depth. Well, what's going on? Why haven't we made any progress here, or here? What is the issue? Why are we having a hard time with this? I mean, and try to make it a conversation. Try to make it a discussion, a two-way communication, so that it's not just, the teacher or the boss or the parent or whatever yelling at the kid or the student or the employee. You want to have an actual discussion, because maybe there is something legitimate that will come out of this. Maybe your employee doesn't truly understand what the fuck 100 to 0 mindset is. That's an easy one. And if that's the case, then you've failed already as a leader, and you need to figure out how to get that back on track and truly teach what that means. Maybe this person doesn't agree with some of these values. And if that's the case, again, it doesn't mean they're going to end up, homeless with no friends, but it means that they're slowly drifting down to the point where they may not be a good fit. They may not be the right person. So again, you have this conversation, you give them another 30 days. 30 days expires, you bring that person back in. If there has been no improvement yet again, this is the level where it's strike three, and you just struck out. That person's got to go. You need to remove them from your organization, and you need to remove them immediately. There is no second guessing this. It is very objective and very easy, frankly, when you use this method. You use this people analyzer and this chart, and it's a plus or a minus. And if they're not hitting your standards, then they have to go. Now, I'm going to inject a little bit of my thoughts, my personal reality into this. I already told you that we don't do reviews as often as we probably should at my company. This whole 30, 60, 90-day 3-strike thing, in my mind, it seems very long. It seems like assuming that we've done an okay job explaining what our core values are and explaining our expectations of our people. 90 days to me feels like an eternity of waiting, of just hoping and praying that something's going to click with a person. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. So, drop it down in the comments or reach out to me privately. But, in my mind, this is something that, maybe 60 days max. And even then it starts to dwindle a little bit in my mind. It's tough because, again, the hardest part of what we do is the people. I do tend to disagree with the fact that sometimes people don't fit your core values, and they know this and they recognize this, because it really isn't difficult, especially when you're doing these objective reviews with the people analyzer. You can show them, listen, you're not meeting these standards. what the book talks about a lot is that these people will eventually weed themselves out on their own. That the core values process, the people analyzer system, it will smoke out the wrong people from your organization, and they will eventually leave on their own. Now, without getting into specifics, I can tell you that I've tried this method of wait and see, or wait and let things work out on their own. It doesn't always work like that. It doesn't always work like that because either we as leaders aren't being clear enough in our expectations, we aren't setting the standard and singing it from the rooftops in a clear enough fashion that everybody gets it. Or I think what also can happen is some people are just very averse to recognizing something ain't right. Some people are just very averse to taking any ownership for anything. And some people just have their blinders on and just never really even step back to see the forest from the trees, right? They never recognize that maybe they just don't fit. So that's another conversation for another day, but just something to chew on for a little bit. Last thing I want to talk about real quick here, and I did promise we're going to make this a shorter episode than last week. One thing that we really need to do, and we need to push this better in our firm, is to really use the people analyzer correctly. You need to start at the leadership level. So you need to start by analyzing your leadership team. And the leadership team, each member, however many there may be, need to analyze each other. We need to ensure that our core values are correct, that the core values we have in place, wherever they came from, still represent what we want this organization to exemplify. If that's not the case, and we're coming up with people that are below the bar, maybe there's a problem with the core values themselves. Maybe we need to relook at them. Maybe not. Maybe we just have the wrong people, but it's something to consider. So the leadership team needs to analyze each other and themselves. And it's the same 3-strike rule. If leadership comes in below the bar, well, we need to have a conversation. Either you're going to improve, or I'm going to improve, or whomever is going to improve, or you're going to be removed. And you have to take that hard stance on this. You have to take that no option mentality, that no compromise mentality when you're dealing with core values. Next up, leadership team then needs to analyze the entire organization. Every single person in your firm needs to be run through this people analyzer in the same way we've already talked about. If you're a smaller firm like us, then you, as a leader, as the leadership team, you pull your people in individually and you share the results. Share their personal results with them. Discuss what's going on, discuss where they came in, how they were graded, how you came up with these rankings, discuss areas for improvement, and discuss a plan to improve if needed. If you're a larger firm, then you can disseminate this information to your management teams, and then management can have these conversations with their direct reports. At Schaefer Construction, we're still small enough that the leadership side of our ragtag band of misfits, we handle this internally still. The best way to do this is really by you doing a quarterly performance review. And one thing that I like to do, again, we don't typically do quarterly reviews, although I think we're getting to the point in headcount and in size that we really need to get back to this. But one thing I have done over the last few years is for our last review of the year, so we typically, for the last few years, have been doing reviews in June and then reviews again in December. For our December review, we send out a different kind of invitation, a different form to all of our people, and basically ask them to analyze us as well. Check in January, and I'll tell you how that one goes with our new and improved larger team that we have as of today. Finally, listen, if there's issues in your organization, you have to deal with them. You have to deal with them quick. You need to rip the fucking Band-Aid off. As a leadership team, that is your job. That is your first and foremost job, is to keep the right people in the right seats. If you've found out through this analysis that you have the wrong person in your organization, and it just doesn't matter if it's a leadership role or an employee or a consultant or anything. If you have the wrong person in your organization, they need to go, and they need to go quickly. Quickly. The wrong person, as we mentioned last time, is like a bad disease, and they will fester, and they will end up killing your culture, and once your culture dies, your company dies with it. I'm going to keep repeating that until I'm blue in the face. When your culture dies, your company will die with it. Wrong person, they got to go. If it's the wrong seat, then you have a choice to make as a leadership team, as the owner. If someone's in the wrong seat, you need to spend some real serious headspace time, some real good thinking time, uninterrupted time, figuring out if there is a right seat for that individual. Hopefully there is. When there's a right seat for the right person, everything works great. If there is not a right seat, there just isn't a right seat left for this specific person, then it's another unfortunate thing, but they have to go. And again, falling back to the people analyzer, falling back to your performance reviews, you need to make this so that it's an objective decision. It's not an emotional thing. It is a yes or a no. This person fits or this person doesn't. If the answer is they don't, they have to leave, period. So one of the many DMs that I got over the last week was to discuss the process of terminating employees. So we are going to put that on the list. I'm going to try to probably do that one when Dillon and I can both be involved, because I think it's a topic probably better shared with some conversation versus me just spitting out all of my thoughts. Although if the scheduling doesn't work out, then we'll do it as a solo episode anyways. So stay tuned for that, guys. Next up, next week, or for the next solo, whenever that actually appears, I'm going to dig into another aspect of the people component. It is called the accountability chart. Had actually thought about doing that this week, but it's getting up on time here, and frankly, I got shit to do. So tune in next time, guys. We're going to talk about the A chart and how to build it, how to use it, what it means to your organization. But the gist of today's episode, guys, is the people analyzer. It's a really easy, really simple tool to rate and grade all of the people top to bottom in your organization to make sure that you have the right people to start with. And again, going back to last week's show, if you have the right people, you can find the right seats typically, but you got to start with the right people first. So use the people analyzer, check it out in the book Traction, check it out on Gino Wickman's websites and his other assets that he puts out there, largely for free, but buy the damn book for the guy. Leave me some reviews, leave me some comments, get in my DMs, and let me know what you think of this one. If you have any questions, by all means, let's chat. Happy to make myself available to jump on a call or a Zoom or what have you to kind of get into further detail on some of these things. But regardless of that, guys, again, we need your help. Like the show, share the show, check out our YouTube channel. The Construction Corner Podcast is our name on YouTube, so check that out. Get the show moving for us, and we'll continue to keep popping on here every week and dropping this content for you. Guys, until next time, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.